Today is September 20th, which means October is approaching, and one of my goals this year was to try to join Inktober. If you've never heard of it, basically Inktober is an art challenge that occurs every year in October. There is an official account for it, and they basically post 31 prompts that you can follow in October day by day. Every year the list of prompts is obviously different. I have tried to join this challenge for a few years now, and I managed to finish it only once. I have to admit it's a bit time consuming and also can lead to burnout if you don't prepare it correctly. My mistake in the previous years was that I didn't prepare in advance. I started following the prompts on the 1st of October and did one prompt every day. This year I'm going to try to prepare a few prompts in advance. So I thought it'd be fun to take you with me through the whole design process for one of the prompts, specifically the first prompt of this year, which is moustache. My idea is to create sketch and palette for each prompt digitally using my iPad, and then transfer the sketch onto paper and color it with traditional media, so inks and fine liners. I'm gonna use A6 sheets of watercolor paper for each prompt. I did the same thing for the latest challenge that I joined in October. This was actually Peachtober, so day 1 was cave, day 2 was dandelion, day 3 was cowboy, day 4 was tiger, day 5 was bow. This was actually one of my favorite prompts. Day 6 was trees, another one of my favorites. And day 7 was potion. This is the last prompt that I joined in 2022 because I burned out and I don't want this to happen this year, and that's why I'm trying to prepare a little bit in advance. So to join this challenge, I'm going to use a few different tools. Definitely my iPad to create the sketch and palette for each prompt. Then I'm going to transfer the sketch onto my sheet of paper. I'm going to use my usual green mat to not get the desk dirty, and then I have a few tools. For the traditional part, I have a rubber and pencil to transfer the sketch, some fine liners of different sizes, 2 different tombos, a soft tip and a hard tip to add the outlines. I have washi tape to keep the sheet of paper firm on the mat, a paper towel, a couple of brushes to use with my inks. I have a black ink and a gold ink to add some accent touches, a ceramic palette to pour the ink into, and this little tool to get some water and pour it into the inks. My idea for this challenge this year is to make it about children. So for this first prompt, moustache, I was thinking I could draw a child drinking a cup of milk and getting moustaches made of milk foam. I've already gathered a dozen reference images that I can't really show you because of copyright reasons, but I have them all here on my monitor so I can keep track of everything while I draw on my iPad. I basically gathered references of children for expressions, poses, to get an idea of how children hold a cup. I try to gather references for pretty much all of my illustrations. I think they really help me and guide me through the whole process, and they are very helpful to understand things that I wouldn't normally draw. So as I mentioned, I want to make A6 sheets of these drawings. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an A6 canvas to draw the digital sketch. I'm going to use my own brush pack for the entire sketching and coloring process. My brush pack is available in my Patreon shop, and if you're a patron, you can actually download it for free. I got 6 different brushes in this brush pack. The grainy charcoal flat and grainy charcoal flow I mainly use for my sketching process. My favorite one for the sketch is grainy charcoal flow. Then I use the grainy charcoal color to add the colors because it doesn't have a lot of streamline on, so it's easier to just color in areas. The grainy charcoal soft I like to use for shadows or softer gradients. The halftone brush is the brush that I use to add this dotted texture at the end of my coloring process, and the sparkles brush I like to use to add little details and elements at the end. So I'm gonna use the grainy charcoal flow for the sketching process now. Okay, I've made a few rough sketches. I started with very rough sketches with a light gray color. I've made 2 different poses and a few different expressions and hairstyles, and then proceeded with refining 3 of them. These were my 3 favorite ones among these 5. And now my favorite ones here are definitely number 1 and number 3. So I think I like the expression here a little bit more with her head held high like that. But I like that we see her from a front view here. So I'm probably gonna continue by making a mix of these 2. Here's the final sketch and palette. I started with some very rough sketches. I did 5 different poses and hairstyles and expressions. I picked my favorite 3 and went ahead and refined them a little. Then I picked my favorite 2 and I mixed them to create this third one. And finally, I took this third one, finalized the sketch, and added the colors. So basically what I did was I started by placing down all of the flat colors. I usually start with a silhouette to identify the entire shape of my character and then create new layers in clipping mask onto it to add the single elements, and then added shadows, lights, and some more highlights on the glass. I marked with yellow the areas that I want to color in gold with the golden ink. Before moving on to the traditional part of this process, I'm quickly going to design the postcard for this month's Goodie Bags rewards for my Blueberries tier. All my postcards are A6 with the illustration on the front and my name, month, and year on the back. And I always design them using Kittl, who's kindly sponsoring this portion of the video. Kittl is a design platform that makes it incredibly fast and fun to create professional quality text designs. Not only does it come with a huge library of built-in fonts and templates to get inspired by, but it also now offers advanced vector tools, real-time collaboration features, and advanced text editing. I love that with Kittl, it's always very easy and straightforward to experiment and create different variations of a design in literally no time, all thanks to its super intuitive interface. So creating a new design or getting one of my illustrations ready for printing is no longer stressful or time-consuming. If you're looking for a platform that's easy to use but powerful enough for you to create professional-looking designs, definitely check out Kittl through the link in my description. And if you're a new user, you can use the code AGOSTYT for 25% off your first month or year of any paid plan. The next step is transferring the sketch onto the sheet of paper that I prepared. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the iPad out of this iPad holder and I'm going to use it as a light box to transfer the sketch onto the paper. To use your iPad as a light box and avoid moving the screen around, I suggest you lock the screen touch before doing that, and you can do that using guided access that's in your iPad's settings. That will block you from moving things around when you pass your hand onto the screen while transferring the sketch basically. And it'll make things a lot easier. To transfer the sketch, I'm using just a normal pencil, whatever pencil is fine. I'm not using a red pencil this time as I usually do because the lines will be covered with fine liners and inks and I don't want the red part to pass through or to be visible. And also normal pencils are much easier to erase with respect to the red ones, so there's that as well.
intentional, because seriously, I really think that like the way that we live in this like crazy, just fast-paced world with so much like
I just finished eating my lunch. It's now 2:20 p.m. and I need to go get some groceries from the supermarket before continuing with the illustration. But first, I wanted to open this beautiful envelope that I got from a lovely follower. This is one of the first, if not the first envelope that I got from you guys. So I'm very excited to open this. Oh my gosh. So these are all made by Barbara Balvi Art. I'm gonna link her Instagram somewhere here on the video. We've got this beautiful print. She also made a sticker sheet, guys, and it's so cool. I think I'm gonna put some of these on my sketchbooks. Then we've got some stickers, some surfboards, a palm on the beach, and the cutest dolphin. And then there's another part. If you know me, you know I am a cacti girl. I love cacti and I love houseplants. So this for me is great. Look at these stickers. And we also got another lovely print. How beautiful all of these things are. Thank you, Barbara, for all of these goodies. I love stickers and I love prints. I'm definitely gonna put them on my sketchbooks and onto my walls. Also, guys, I am about to move. I don't think I've mentioned it on YouTube. I finally bought an apartment. They are currently renovating it. I should be able to move in around a month or so. In a couple of weeks, I'm gonna be able to start cleaning everything up and bringing some of my stuff there. I think I'm gonna film a vlog on that part. I think it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to show you the new apartment and especially the new studio that I'm gonna have. I can't believe this. I'm not gonna work from my bedroom anymore finally, so I'm very happy about it and I'm very excited to move. I'm back from the groceries and it's pretty late already because it's almost 4 p.m. I'm going to continue coloring my illustration right away. I'm gonna start by going over all of the outlines with this hard tip brush pen by Tombow, and I'm going to add little details that are a little finer with my fine liners. And then after finishing with the fine liners and the brush pen, I'm going to start with the inks. It's the next day. I finished coloring the illustration pretty late yesterday. It was around 6 p.m. and it was already getting dark outside, so I didn't want to show you the finished piece in the dark. I wanted to show it to you when there was some sunlight out. So here is the final illustration. Here's the front and here's the back. I always like to write down the ear and the prompt on the back so I remember. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this prompt turned out. I haven't worked with inks in a while, so I feel a bit rusty. This probably could have turned out much better than it did, but I think the purpose of this challenge is precisely seeing your growth and improvement between the first prompt and the last prompt, hopefully, if there's any. I hope so. I also wanted to address a question that I got recently about using masks and inverts in my illustrations. Let me take one of my most recent illustrations to show you how that works. So basically what I do is I start with my sketch layer and then add the flat colors below it. I like to start with a silhouette. It's basically the entire shape of a character, and I like to click on it once I create it, select it, and click save and load and add the selection here, and also click invert and add the invert as well. Once I have the silhouette, I color in the different elements, each on a new layer, using the clipping mask tool that you can find here over my silhouette. So when I draw the element, I don't go outside of my silhouette. For example, here for the dress, even if I color it like outside of my silhouette, it doesn't show because this layer is clipping masks onto my silhouette. Now, let's say I want to add some sort of object that's halfway over the shirt and halfway under the shirt. Let's say it's something like this, for example. I don't know what this would be, but it's just to make a point here. So let's say this kind of object should be under the dress in this area and over the dress in this other area. What I should be doing is I should erase this part of the dress to show the object underneath, right? Most of the time I don't like to do that because I like to preserve my layers and not erase parts of it. So what I do to hide this part of the dress but not erasing what I've already drawn is I create a mask on top of it, and with the layer mask selected, I select my eraser and I go ahead and erase this part of the dress to show the object below. This way, I am not erasing the actual layer. I'm just creating a mask on top of it, which is a non-destructive way to modify the layer it is attached to. So if I wanted my dress back, I would just have to hide my layer mask or erase it entirely. And this is exactly my approach for my sketch layer. So at some point after I add the base colors, I like to erase some of the lines that I don't need anymore, especially these outlines on the outer edges, but I don't want to erase my actual sketch. So what I do is I create a layer mask on top of it and I use the eraser to erase only some of the lines. Now let's go back to our saved selections. I use those mainly for the lighting part. So what I do is once I get to this point where I have my flat colors down is I create new layers to add the lights and shadows, right? I usually create multiply layers to add the shadows to my characters. I pick like a light pink color and start adding the shadows, right? What sometimes happen is I want to add the shadows on a part that's towards the edge of my silhouette. So as you can see, I'm going outside of my silhouette here, and the same thing can happen in other areas as well. So here, for example, so now I have all of these areas here and here and here and here where my shadows actually go outside of my silhouette. So what I like to do at this point is go to my shadows layer and erase the parts that are going outside of the silhouette, only those parts. And to do that, I go back to my selections, select the invert of my silhouette, so everything that's outside of my silhouette. I go back to my layer and click clear. So now all of the parts that were outside of the silhouette are being erased. I hope this was clear. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below and I'll answer them in one of the following videos. And just FYI, I have a ton of video tutorials, like around 30 tutorials on my Patreon. They are available for my watermelons and my blueberries, but they are also available for individual purchase. So if you're interested in a specific topic, I have tutorials showing my whole illustration process, faces tutorials, hands, expressions, traditional coloring process, stylizing nature, my ideation process, backgrounds, stylizing real people, friends and family. I have tons of tutorials and I have exciting news for you, because if you don't want to join my Patreon and you don't care about the other rewards, I have just activated YouTube memberships. So I'm going to upload the same tutorials that I post on Patreon here on YouTube as well for the members of the channel. So you're going to be able to watch the same tutorials but at a lower price, because you won't have access to the other rewards. I'm going to upload one video a week for now, because I am catching up with older Patreon tutorials. And once I'm caught up with all of the Patreon tutorials, I'm going to upload one new video tutorial every month. And it's going to be the same one I upload on Patreon, but at a lower price, because you don't have all of the other rewards.
I'm hushing the dog on the chain. I'm running up stones on the edge of the bank. Rally the troops for another refrain. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly